Hey guys, this is Aaron from Chef Koenig, and we are here today with Mitch from Mission Impossible.
Hey guys.
Today we're going to be covering the most underrated faction in Mobile Legends. And my favorite faction, the Necrokeep.
Necrokeep is the undead city, right?
Yeah, but before Necrokeep was the Undead City, Necrokeep was known as Ritzburg.
Hmm.
Necrokeep is the city in the Barren Lands. As we know, Necrokeep is the first line of defense against the forces of the Abyss, and the geographical location is very convenient as after you leave the Abyss, the first kingdom you will see is Necrokeep. The reason for this is because the city of Ritzburg, even it become Necrokeep, have an artifact that they have hidden deep down under the city that is called the Mist. The properties of the Mist is that it destroys the demons, but at the same time, every life form it touches is corrupted and turns into the undead. So as we know, Necrokeep was recently revamped, but in actuality, for Necrokeep we have two lore, the old lore and the new lore. We're gonna be covering the old lore first.
The old lore is when Vexana used to look scary, right?
Yes, the old lore was when Vexana looks like a pale-headed demon with all the makeup and the horns. So Necrokeep has both an old and new lore, as I've stated before. So the old lore is a lot darker than the new lore. And in our previous video, we have mentioned that Vexana was one of the people that Alice screwed over royally. That is in both the old and the new lore. So in the old lore, Vexana is the queen of Ritzburg. That is what it's known as before it became the undead city of Necrokeep. In the old lore, Vexana ruled alongside her king, but then the blood demon Alice seduced the king of Ritzburg, making him distant from her. Because of this, Vexana grew desperate, and she made a deal with the Lord of the Abyss to grant her beauty beyond comparison. But as we know, making a deal with the Abyss never goes well, and Vexana was turned into the hideous monster that was in the old Mobile Legend game before the revamp. After she was turned into the monster, in her insanity, she released a wave of magic that turns everyone into the undead creatures of Necrokeep. But this is also where Leomord's story also begins. Leomord has been the leading knight of Ritzburg, but when Vexana magic is slowly corrupting the mind of his fellow soldiers, he never wanted to become undead, so he took his own life and fell to the ground. With the living beings corrupted, the citizens of Necrokeep attacked travelers and other kingdoms. This got the attention of the Monian Empire, and a war was about to begin. Tigreal led the forces of the Monian Empire during their war against Necrokeep. And in this war, Vexana knew that she had to bring back a powerful ally from the past, and that was when she brought back Leomord from the dead, turning him into the undead knight we knew. In his battle against Tigreal, Tigreal noticed that he is facing someone powerful, and they kept fighting on. Mobile Legend lore never stated what happened after the battle, but that is all we know of the old lore. And now we're gonna be moving on to the new lore of Necrokeep, that is after it has been revamped.
In the new lore, Alice crashed Vexana's wedding, right?
Yes, and because of Alice, that was what turned the kingdom of Ritzburg into the undead city of Necrokeep. In Necrokeep, there are three heroes as of we know today: Vexana, Leomord, and Faramis. But two of the heroes from there are not originally from Ritzburg. Faramis and Vexana were both from Luminous City in the Monian Empire. The only person that is originally from Ritzburg would be Leomord. Now we're gonna start with the lore of Vexana, as she is the leading role in the Necrokeep story.
Princess Vexana Gaius had never set foot out of the Luminous City, nor did she have any desire to do so. The Monian capital was warm, opulent, and bursting with life. A ghastly fortress in the southern hinterlands was the last place she intended to spend the rest of her life in. On the other hand, she knew she was bound to her father's will. Duke Atticus of Richburg had offered the house of Gaius deemed Vexana the most suitable match, and now she had found herself alone in her carriage on a long ride south. She glanced over the letter the Duke sent to introduce her to her future home. These are the southern lands blessed by the old gods, where rainstorms come and go, and silvery grass bathes in the moonlight's glow. Vexana admired the Duke's thoughtfulness, but those poetic words did little to soothe her unease. To make matters worse, Vexana didn't even meet her host upon her arrival at Ridgeburg. She was told that Duke Atticus had left the castle the day before on an urgent quest to cleanse a demonic infestation along the border. So when she got there, she was greeted by a grim-looking knight named Leomord. So 1 week passed, 2 weeks, and then 3. Atticus' letters were the only company she had on her lonely nights in this strange land. With every stroke of his quill, she couldn't help but feel his pain and his longing for home. More than she cared to admit, she had grown a strange affection for the man she had never even met. The letters suddenly stopped, dashing whatever hope Vexana had secretly harbored in her heart. 2 years passed in a flash. The northern princess grew into a capable and decisive southern duchess, solving one problem after another, grand or small.
Atticus did not return for 2 years, is that correct?
Yes, because he was out in battle to...
Yes, he was out in fighting the demon infestation.
Yes. Okay, moving on with the story. With Atticus gone, she was the city's greatest and only hope. Until that day, as if fate had heard her thoughts, the herald came knocking on her door to announce that the Duke has returned. For 2 long years she'd waited for this day, except upon seeing Atticus' face for the first time, she felt only a cold shiver run down her spine. He seemed different from the person in her letters. Soon, the wedding was held. Everyone in Richburg gathered to watch this long-awaited union join in holy matrimony.
So the events of the wedding was also when the wedding in the mist happened.
But when the box of rings were opened, a pair of magic wings sprung out of the box, followed by a wicked voice resonating through the holy walls saying, "Embrace the world of death." When that happened, Duke Atticus and his men writhed and twisted, their bodies slowly resembling those of the demons of the abyss. Vexana froze as a raging Atticus lunged at her, his sword raised high. "Stop!" The lumbering beast stopped in his tracks. The bride reached out to his heart and whatever was left of him inside. And with a touch, Atticus seemingly managed to regain a trace of consciousness and froze. Battling the demon he'd become, Atticus ordered Leomord to pierce his heart.
This was also the same time that Leomord broke his oath against his master.
With his dying breath, Atticus entrusted Ridgeburg to Vexana and unveiled the dark secret hidden to all but the royal family of Ridgeburg. After the inevitable claws of death snatched him from her arms, Vexana lifted Atticus' scepter and chose to forever guard the city.
As Vexana rose her scepter, she released the mist. The mist, as I have covered early in the video, is the magical artifact. Anything the mist touches will corrupt it and turn it into the undead. But the property of the mist is also why Ritzburg stands at the border of the abyssal land. It destroys every demon it touches. And now we're gonna be covering the lore of Faramis, the last known hero of Necrokeep. So, Faramis was originally not from Necrokeep or Ritzburg, although he did arrive after it has been turned into Necrokeep. But Faramis originally is from Luminous City of the Monian Empire. Faramis came from a long line of physicians, and with the power of the ancestral staff passed down through his family developed many medicines and cures for the diseases of the world, and they were kept as royalties in the holy castle. But they were never treated as equal by the other royalties, as they only see them as slaves. For that reason, Faramis was bullied when he was a child. But one time at a banquet, the royal children beat Faramis up and he was on the ground. But in that moment, he saw a royal girl giving him medicine. This royal girl was Vexana, but he didn't know it yet. She became the ray of light and hope in his grim and dark world. As Faramis grew up, he learned the magic and medicine arts of his family. But there is one mystery that he can never solve, the mystery of life and death. He was always curious about this topic, but he could never find his ancestor. Once Faramis was knowledgeable enough, the staff was handed to him. With that, he left Lumina City to continue his journey for knowledge. That was when Faramis found himself in the city of the Undead, of Necrokeep. As he walked through the city, he saw the Duchess Vexana handing out the moonlight brew to the people of the undead in the hopes of the cure for the undead curse she had placed on them by the mist. At first, he thought it was a blunt lie, but then he saw the effect that the moonlight brew have on the people, so he decided to help Vexana in his quest. But even though he was walking along the mist, he noticed that his body was not turning into the undead like the citizens of Necrokeep. His ancestral staff was protecting him. As he decided to stay in Necrokeep and help Vexana cure the people of the undead, he experimented with the moonlight herb. After many failed attempts, he finally made a breakthrough by infusing magic into the herbs. And with every progress he made, he insisted on testing the effects on himself. But because of this, his body grew weaker and weaker, until one day he fell ill. Lying on the cold floor, Faramis felt his life quickly draining out of him as he passed out. He never thought he could open his eyes again. As he woke up, he saw a young lady leaning over and giving him medicine. At that moment, he realized that Vexana was the same girl that helped him during the dinner banquet. But as soon as Faramis recovered, Vexana urged him to leave the place as it is too dangerous for a living person to continue to stay in Necrokeep. And the mist was starting to overpower his enchanted staff. If he stayed any longer in Necrokeep, he would turn into one of the undead. Faramis did not say a word, but in his mind, he always remembered Vexana's face from when they were young. And with that, he decided that he will stay in Necrokeep. As he finally let go of his staff, the mist was starting to get into him, and he turned into a citizen of Necrokeep, finally turning into the undead. And with that, he decided that one day he will turn the citizens of Necrokeep back into the people of Ritzburg, turning them back human. So that is the lore on Necrokeep. We will not be covering the rise of Necrokeep as it was more of a commercial by Moonton on the events leading to the revamp of the heroes of Necrokeep. That is the end for today, and we will see you guys in the next video.
Don't forget to show us some love by hitting that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thanks for watching.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy, and silently, it could build and build until you find